Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. The Giants drop the series versus the Tigers and spoil another Logan Webb gem. We'll break down that series, plus take a look at former Giants around the league, answer some questions from listeners, and more. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Get moving towards better sleep at Mancini Sleep World. We guarantee the best price and free next day delivery at Mancini's. Stop by or visit sleepworld.com to see what's currently available. All right, Alex, let's talk Giants versus Tigers. Not really a rivalry game, but a rematch of a famous face-off from years ago. The story of that series was pitching, and I think the biggest, most interesting, most noteworthy, most discussion-worthy angle on the Giants side was also pitching. 3 different starting performances, 3 very different turnouts. Let's start with Logan Webb. Logan Webb absolutely dominates. Love to see him back, but when Logan Webb is in good form, it seems like the Giants offense knows exactly what to do.
Yeah, it was a bit of a throwback today, although I think we're going to see that quite often. Look, this wasn't a good offensive team when everybody was around.
And then you deal 2 of their best hitters?
You deal 2 of their best hitters. You deal their best position player, 2 of their other key players, including their second best hitter, are probably done for the year. So there's going to be a lot of this. And It truly is like a AAA lineup right now. I think there's like a little bit of – there was a fun stat from today's game. Maybe not so fun, but our stats department producer of the pregame show, David Tedla, sent this one to me. First time since 1989, the Giants have had 6 straight strikeouts after the start of the 9th inning. So that was the way to go down. There's like slight improvements. Like, Victor Barracoto started a rehab assignment. We've been excited to see him, and he's somebody who should play every day when he's ready. I think Jonah Cox will be back at some point. So there's like slight improvements here, but Marcelo Meyer will be here soon. But for the most part, this is going to be an ugly second half offensively, which is saying something because the first half was rough as well.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that ahead of the trade deadline, that even though we knew the team had to sell, there were still months worth of baseball games to play, and we got to sit through those. Fans have to sit through those. They still want to be selling out. They still want people to care. But it was series like this that you can see how this can drain on a fan base.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we started to see it over the weekend just in terms of butts and seats. Don't know what the attendance, didn't look those up, but just looking around.
They are battling against outside lands this weekend.
That's true. So, ironically, somewhat similar crowds right now in terms of like who's going to each. But yeah, I think we started to see that lately. And look, it can't really blame anybody. Like it's been a big change in the last few weeks. But to your point about the pitching, like that is the one area we can really evaluate going forward.
Yeah.
And it's a huge area. And Logan was awesome. I was thinking about this watching him today. I'm like, it almost feels like he's on an island now. That
totally. I was thinking that same thing.
And he's been surrounded by newcomers. He was close with Robbie. So, the other veterans gone. There's really nobody else in the rotation who's just like a solid number 2. We'll talk about Landon, but there's nobody close to him. And then a lot of the guys who he's close to on the team, like guys who's played with a long time. Casey Schmidt has played with a long time. Not going to play again this season, most likely. Matt Chapman, he's close with. Not going to play again this season, most likely. So he's on an island. But I do think it did get me thinking about a few mailbag questions we've had this season where we kind of talked about Logan's legacy and what's ahead of him and where he stands compared to, like the big 3 and then a Jason Schmidt, somebody like that, potentially even being like a Hall of Fame candidate down the line. And I do think there's something to be gained here over the next few weeks. Just like, this sounds weird to say, but the Giants are 20 games under. And I think for Logan now, it's just a little bit of like compiling now and finishing with another good year. He's not going to be a Cy Young candidate, but he's actually like not too far away in terms of innings, even though he missed a full month. He's eighth in the National League. He's not going to catch Sandy Alcantara, who's way ahead of the pack, but like he's like 16 innings behind the number 2 guy in the National League. So just little things like that. Like he could have another year where he throws a lot of innings and get that ERA down a little bit. Just add to the numbers a little bit. So I know people are like, when's he going to be shut down or what's the point? But days like this, it's like, hey, there's something like historically at stake for him. Not now, but like 10 years from now. And you look back on seasons like this and go, yeah, did you get to like 180 innings and had a 3.3 ERA, even though it was a horrible year? That'll matter a little bit.
You don't want to be looking back when Logan Webb's career is over and just kind of say like, wow, if only he hadn't taken that month off for no reason.
And he won't. I mean, he just, he's not, that's not in him, but
totally.
I guess
I do wonder
today, what there's nothing going on. And he's like, here's 8 dominant innings.
Exactly.
So
I wonder what it is like mentally for a veteran like Logan Webb, who has such high expectations of quality of himself and of the team, to look around and just be like, so many unfamiliar faces. It's not like winning isn't an option, but like winning is almost an afterthought at this point. It's all about young development, and I'm out here still trying to do my job well. It's rough.
Yeah, it's a weird, like even the pregames have taken on a different tone now of, Tony mentions on Saturday when Trent Harris got called up, he's like, yeah, Trent hasn't pitched in 7 days, so we got to get him in one way or another. And there he is in like a 1-run game. So it is.
Yeah.
And look,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, it's the right thing here. I mean, this is development now, but it is weird for guys like Logan and Rafael Devers and Willie Adames and some of those veteran guys. Like this is a season that now all these decisions are being made on what's best for developing other individual guys. And a day like Sunday, I mean, there's maybe a couple of decisions you can make there to make life a little bit easier for the starting pitcher, but that's the way this is going to be the rest of the way.
Yeah. Let's go through the rest of the starting pitchers. I'm going to go to Adrian Hauser next, who is a starting-ish pitcher after getting moved to the bullpen. He came in after the opener, but he looked good back in the starter-ish role.
This is a slight win for Giants Talk because one of our pet peeves this year was that they refused to use an opener for Adrian Hauser earlier.
They're afraid of the opener, and it paid off.
Yeah, and this was like a weird opener because it's a righty for a righty, and that
also a weird opener in that opener comes in, gives up a run, and now the starting pitcher is coming in at a deficit.
I don't think Adrian was like thrilled after the game, and I'm
sure
I don't fully disagree with him because our whole case was like lefties were chewing him up alive.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was like, all right, throw back, they had 4 lefties at one point, like throw one of them in front of him, make life a little bit easier. But the Brubaker Hauser thing is a little bit of a different case. So I do think at some point with him, like he's here next year, and they have 3 rotation openings right now. And we saw how difficult it was for them to fill 2 rotation openings last year. Like at some point they probably need to, and maybe they have figured it out, but probably need to throw him back in there and see if like been on, not quite the bench because he has been pitching, but like a semi been on the bench, Adrian Hauser for a few months. Like if there's a second act in here, because I don't know that we were talking about the opener in a way of like, hey, this is an effective way to get through his starts to try to,
maximize potential.
Yeah, exactly. Now they're 20 games under, and I don't really know what throwing JT Brubaker in front of him quite does. So
yeah, that's fair.
I'd almost throw him out there now and go. It's like, glad you got to the opener idea. You're about 3 months too late. Now I think you probably need to let the guy start and see what you have the next 2 months, because he's under contract for next season. And there's a world like we just did this. Like there's a world where they go out looking for starting pitching, and we look up at the start of next season, whenever it is, and it's like, Hauser's not too far down the depth chart. So I think they need to figure out one way or the other where he fits, or let him try short relief or like something. Because I don't really know what this current role for him is, and I don't think he does either.
Yeah, you don't want to be in that position as a pitcher where you don't know, you get asked to do everything. Pitchers are such creatures of habit that put him in a role, figure out what the best use of him is. But again, we have no idea what next year is going to look like rotation wise. So
Yeah.
is it even worth trying to figure it out now?
I just don't really understand. Yeah, I guess I just don't really understand like what he is currently.
Yeah.
Or he's a guy who's filling innings as you need innings to be filled the rest of the year, but like he's under contract for next year, so he's going to
Yeah.
be here, possibly, likely. Kind of need to figure out how are you going to use him next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other starting pitcher of the weekend was Landon Roop, who the main story, he went 5 and change innings, but the main story for Landon Roop was he got pulled in the 6th after, what was it? Walk, strikeout, walk, I believe. And was visibly unhappy that is how it went down.
We have one rule here. What's our one
No
rule?
shenanigans.
Take it easy for a
On.
week, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite part of that was, I don't know if you noticed this, but Tony's signal to the bullpen was about as demonstrative as a like arm raise as you can get. There's a little, I enjoyed that part of it. I don't know. I get Landon's really competitive. Like we've talked about it in a positive sense before, that he is, built a little bit in the same vein as like a Bumgarner, a Logan Webb, like these guys who are super competitive out there, and that's good. At the same time, you walk the bases loaded, you kind of lose it seemed like he was looking down at Tony like later in the inning after the run scored too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of think everyone needs to just like, at some point, it's just collectively they're making their manager look bad. And
that's the main thing here is I understand you're upset, but this is going to end up a worse situation for you if you're pouting like this.
Yeah, I mean, everyone got past the Devers thing pretty quickly, but like it didn't look great for Tony Vitello. So I think Tony currently is in a, he's still, I think there are still things that I'm watching today's game and I'm like, Grant McCray against the lefty late in the game, you have a righty off the bench. What's going on here? There's still that stuff going on, but also he is currently managing essentially a AAA team, and like it's not helping anyone to show him up out there. So
exactly, he needs to start stacking respect around the league from players, and this is his chance to prove himself. But when they're not really hunting wins right now, really the way to prove himself is prove that he has command of this team. So this kind of thing hurts double right now for Tony Vitello. Yeah. A bad look for Landon Roop. Come on.
Yeah, I mean he is really like, he's up there on the competitive meter, like in terms of guys I've covered. But yeah, I almost feel like one of the veterans in the group needs to just gather everyone at some point and be like, okay, no more on-field displays of anything. Like the next 2 months, let's keep that all, go back to the clubhouse and be angry in the clubhouse.
Yes. Those are our starting pitchers ish for the weekend. You mentioned Trent Harris. Let's talk about that move. Trent Harris got put in wasn't a dicey situation, but it was like right after the Roop situation, the inning after. So tensions were high, but that 7th inning fell apart.
Yeah, that was one of those where it was just like, oh, there might be a few of these in the next 2 months. And look, it's a weird thing right now because there's somebody like Trent who they're getting in and they're trying to take a look at him, but you also don't know. Like you look at the rest of the weekend and they correctly pointed out that probably not any innings to be had on Sunday. So I think he hadn't pitched in like 7 days or something like that. He pitched very well since they moved him to the rotation in Sacramento. I don't think he's a starter long term, and this also is. I think there's a lot of this going on. They're really trying to figure out who some of these guys are, and it's this whole jumble right now. And
that's the point of the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, and it's, on the one hand, I do agree they need to like do these bullpen games. On the other hand, like a lot of the roles that these guys are taking on, like the Hauser thing I mentioned, like that's probably not a role on next year's team. So you usually have like one long man at the start of the year. So I think some of these guys, and this isn't really necessarily related to Trent because it was like later in the game, but some of these guys, they need to figure out if they can do short bursts as well, because like it's not really like somebody will take Brubaker's job next year, but right now there's like 4 guys who are like vying for that. So, but I hope Trent gets a cleaner outing the next time out. I mean, there are some really good attributes there, and he was pretty good the last few weeks in AAA. So he was one of those guys we had talked about as like potentially a guy we're going to see, and here he is. Hope it's better the next time.
Yeah, exactly. We saw him. I'd like to see him again, but that was a rough 7th. Double, single, double. I mean, they basically did the cycle as a team in the 7th inning.
That whole game was just, defensively.
One of those games where, as the Giants look like they deserve to be getting no hit, seeing the other team just start to stick them together like that back to back to back hurts extra bad.
Yeah, this is such a weird. I think we've had this happen to us before, where it's like, this kind of happened last year, where it was over in 48 hours because Buster trades all the, rightfully so, trades all the leverage relievers, and you're like, okay, well, this is over. So it's a weird thing because on the one hand, you're talking about like, cool to see this guy, cool to see Trent Harris. Basabe has been a great little story here, and also there's a little element of like, hey, can he be on the bench next year? Things like that. On the other hand, sometimes there's gonna, and not sometimes, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of games like this the rest of the way where it's just like, oh yeah, that was the River Cats versus a team that's headed for the postseason. So it's gonna be this weird mix of like, I think there's gonna be some truly awful games the next 2 months. And then all these moments where like, hey, Blade Tidwell looked pretty promising, or liked what I saw out of so and so, but there's nothing else really going on. So there's no middle ground here.
It's almost the rest of the season is just a bumpy road to discovery.
Yeah, that's truly, that's what we're doing. I think you hope every day, and I feel this way going to the ballpark, like you hope to see something from a young guy where you're like, hey, there's like the Nate Furman who's in the minors, or there's a little flash from Basabe, or there's some good Drew Kavanaugh there or something like that. But there's also going to be a lot of days where there's none of that, and you're just like, oh, 8-0, 3 hits.
Yeah.
So
the other big thing out of this weekend's games was, of course, the Wall of Fame ceremony on Saturday. A lot of fun just to have everyone back. Were you able to sit down and hang with some of these guys?
I was. I sat down with Brandon Crawford and Joe Panik.
Nice.
I think we will have that here on Thursday's pod, but
Excellent.
we have, the usual full show coming up. Pittsburgh coming up in a few weeks. That smells like multiple rain delays. So get ready to see a Giants talk show with me and Crawford and Panik. It was fun. They did a thing over at the Via. Good to see those guys. I think I have 2 regrets from the weekend. One, it really does suck that so many of these have ended up being Fox games. And
and obviously they don't know what the national games are going to be when they book this type of thing. There's no way around it, but rough.
Yeah. Well, I wish there was a way, like, I wish there was more of a mechanism to be like, hey, that really needs to be a local game. Like that's
blocks that out.
Yeah. You want to, like, they have 2 Apple TV games, I think, in September now. So you want to do all those things, whatever. But like the Wall of Fame ceremony, Jeff Kent, Brandon Belt, these days are our days. And I don't say ours NBC Sports Bay Area, but like that as well. But I
ours
wish
as Giants fans.
Yeah, I wish there was more of an understanding from Major League Baseball to not take those. And the other thing that happens, and I got a lot of questions about this, like I don't think people realize how strict the broadcast window is there. Like there's not even like a week, you can't even really like pop on and be like, here's a Wall of Fame show. Like it's just a strict MLB window there in the afternoon, which we've talked about before. That's why Giants have, some of these night games on Saturdays. The other thing I wish was they did a little press conference afterwards where the 5 of them were on a podium. And that I thought that ended up being much more indicative of what we wanted than what happened on the field. Like,
a little loosey-gooseier.
Yeah, and I think from what I heard, and I know this from being in the press box, it was a little hard to hear maybe. but the back and forth. So I wish more had like come out of, because the back and forth in the little press conference room for 15 minutes was great. And it was interesting too. I mean, Pablo like listed all the highlights from all the fellow guys, and then Brandon Crawford was like, well, what's your favorite moment? And he was like, catching the ball in game 7. And he's like, you hit 3 home runs in the World Series game. And he's like, no, catching the ball. And I never would have thought that
that's a great answer.
That's what stands out to him and maybe he's being humble, but that's what he said multiple times. Like, no, that's what stands out to me. So it was cool. I wish there was a little bit more of like that was able to come out, because I know a lot of people wanted to watch it, and I know a lot of people wanted to experience maybe more of the back and forth and more of that side of it.
Yeah. I guess when you see stuff like this, it gets you so excited. I don't want to be the nostalgia guy. Obviously, I am the nostalgia guy, but I go crazy for these kind of ceremonies. So whenever one happens, it's what's the next one?
Yeah.
When do we get the gang back together again? And I've seen that question kind of circulating around quite a bit. And there's 2 answers that are just obviously whenever those guys are ready, the Giants will work our schedules around them.
Yeah, Tim Lincecum, whenever you want to come back, you get whatever you want, and it will be.
The city will shut down like it did for Bat Kid.
I mean, even we did this. Yeah, there was this press conference, and the last question was about Timmy, and Buster said, "Yeah, I've seen him, saw him a few months ago, spent some time together, and he said, the roof's going to come off this place." And Brandon Belt chimed up, and he was like, "I'll be here for the Tim Lincecum day." And I've made a lot of jokes about it, but legitimately, like Brandon Belt probably would not. He's kind of a homebody now, so like he's hard to get in touch with. But he like spoke up. He's like, "I will be here for Tim Lincecum Day," which tells you the way even his teammates feel about wanting to see him. So that I think is the major one, and then right behind that is Madison Bumgarner, which is probably more likely. I do think he genuinely enjoyed it when he came back for the 14 reunion, and but one thing I asked Crawford and Panik on the show that we're going to air, I'm like, who are you most curious about what they're doing? And they both said Bum, because he is still hard to figure out where he is and what he's doing. Is he calf roping? Is he on a boat?
Exactly. Is Mason Saunders alive and well in the roping world? I don't know. Maybe he's moved on to like professional axe throwing. He's one of those enigmas that you never know.
I think he's moved on to something semi-professional, but people can dig into it. But I those are the 2 obvious. And really, those are, it's weird to say, but like, that's pretty much it. Like, they've put everyone else. I had like a list in my head, and then I saw Barry Brennan on Twitter. I think I've actually met him at a book signing maybe, but does a really nice job. And he went through and looked at it, and he had the 6 eligible were those 2, and then Johnny Cueto, Logan Webb, Camilo Duvall, and Elliot Ramos, just in terms of what the actual wall qualifications are. So like Logan Webb's gonna be up. He's gonna have his own day one day, regardless, But and I don't know, dude. Where's Johnny Cueto stand for you on like Wall of Fame? That one.
I think if he had gotten one more start that year in the playoffs, we could be having a whole different conversation. But he's been around the league enough. I don't think he's a Wall of Famer in San Francisco. I loved Johnny Cueto as a Giant, but I don't think the Wall of Fame is built for Johnny Cueto's.
Yeah, to be honest, everyone on this list other than Webb feels like a stretch to me.
100%.
So
100%.
Even, Elliott had a great year here and did some cool things, but just feels like a bit of a stretch. So
is the implication by this list that everyone who has reached the eligibility is on it currently?
Everyone except for Bum.
No guys from the 70s, 80s.
Maybe we're all missing someone, but
wow, that's going to be an honor to itself. Johnny Cueto, first guy to be snubbed from the Wall of Fame if they don't put him on.
There must be other guys who played that many. I don't know, but it's I saw this and I haven't gone through the full deep.
I trust Bay Area Brennan to have done his due diligence.
I do as well, because it was kind of in my head. I had, in terms of the non-active guys, like those are the only 2 I can think of is Tim and Bum. But I do have That's
You know what? I take it back. We had so much fun with Johnny Cueto when he was on the team. I wouldn't mind seeing him come back,
the
throw up
shooting.
some of his old Instagram posts,
It would be
do a
worth
little
it.
celebration.
It would
That
be.
would be a lot of fun.
Would you,
I'm a
you
just
back?
like I'm a big Hall of Fame guy. I'm going to be a big Wall of Fame guy.
It would be worth it for the Instagram. So,
Yeah,
I did enjoy covering Johnny, but it does feel like a little different.
It feels different though. It has a different flavor to
But
it.
here's an idea for you, because they
Okay.
are, as we know, the Giants do this better than anybody. Love doing this. They've kind of run out. Like
Yeah.
they've done all the 10 years of the titles. Now we're going to come up on 20 years and all that. So actually not too far away from like 20 years, but we're running out here. I do wonder if the next group is some of those coaches who became really popular here. And that's not much of a like ticket seller as much, but
Yeah.
like Ron Wotus feels like a Wall of Famer, like an easy one.
That's a great point.
And I wonder if like Flan and Rags and some of those guys, if that's like the next group, because there is just this, there's going to be this gap in terms of actual players. And yeah, whenever Tim Lincecum or Madison Bumgarner are ready to come, they will, whatever day you want, whenever you want, whatever opponent, pick and choose. But other than that, it's pretty hard to figure out what they're going to celebrate the next.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, we're half a decade away from 2021 being 10 years, but since they didn't actually come home with any hardware, I doubt that's like an internal celebration just to get 107 wins. I don't even know who would really be the face of that, who would be that like celebrated back.
You and I would be thrilled to just have like an Alex Dickerson celebration in 2031, but
absolutely,
it is a small crowd here.
Yeah. But that I think the coaches are a great call. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, what about like a Mike Krukow?
100%. Yeah. No, I think you're going coaches. I think you're going broadcasters. I think you're going off the wall a little bit here until how many years from now is Joshua and Luis and like what are we looking at? 30 years from now? I don't know. So it's
until Logan, I guess. There's
this gap. Bryce Eldridge is trending in the right direction.
There we go.
Yeah. There's going to be this little, I think we just got so used to like every year it was like Matt Cain, Hunter Pence, like there's the core four, and they've kind of exhausted it. So
yeah, that's why, like I said on the podcast last week, I was shocked that they did all 5 of these guys at once. They burned through 5 ceremonies.
Yeah, I mean, 2 ceremonies alone for Brandon Belt this year, so they did burn through it a little bit. So
yeah. All right. Yeah. That was the weekend in Giants baseball. There were a few injury updates and roster moves this weekend as well, including update on Matt Chapman's status. Alex, can you fill us in?
Not great. He spoke to me and Susan Slusser on Friday and said he has a hernia, has had a hernia, has a core muscle tear, and he's currently, as we speak, in Philadelphia to meet with a specialist, and his assumption is that he'll have surgery on Tuesday. So,
okay,
maybe there's some miracle. Hey, we don't need to put you on the operating table, but likely surgery on Tuesday, which would be obviously season ending for him, which is a bummer for him. I think also explains a little bit some of the issues he had.
Hard to swing a bat when you've got a abdominal hernia.
Yeah. So on the one hand, you do that kind of explains it. On the other hand, this is 2 straight years now where an injury has kind of, you look back at the end of the year and you go, okay, like he's starting to get up there a little bit and there's going to be some of this. So, bummer for him. Marcelo Myers here, or he's now headed to Arizona, and then he will be headed to Las Vegas to join AAA Sacramento. I would think, I don't know if end of this homestand might be a little quick, but I think he'll be with them in Cleveland next week.
Yeah. He is the new Casey Schmidt, basically.
Yeah. Essentially,
I'm very excited.
Same high school as well. So, but the fun part about that is Giants' next trip is Cleveland, Boston. So there's going to be some storylines there.
There we go.
Something would have to go wrong for him not to be in the lineup when they visit Boston.
Okay.
So
Revenge
he will
series.
be second base, third base, rest of the way, really.
Mm-hmm.
So that one is exciting. And then Tristan Beck was optioned on Friday. If that sounds familiar, it's because he has, as far as I know, become the first Giant to hit the 5 option rule, which means if he comes back, they cannot send him out again. So
All right.
I don't remember this
Pressure's
happening
on.
before. Maybe it did.
No. Well, for how much we've seen players just go back forth
Yeah.
over the past few years, it feels like it should have, but I think you're right.
I can't remember. I remember talking about guys getting close, and I can't remember anyone
Mm-hmm.
actually getting to this point. So
Yeah.
um, he's running out of steam here. So yeah.
Okay. Keeping an eye on that little narrative, Tristan Beck. Let's take a look around the league, Alex. We have former Giants, we have notable storylines, and do a quick remembering some guys. And I think we have one of the biggest remembering some guys moments in recent memory.
Maybe the biggest one yet.
Biggest ever.
I think.
Elliot Ramos double off of Tyler Mahle with Dubon fielding it.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that line in the box score. So we might be able to, because now so many guys are spread around the league from the last few years that there might be something similar. But
I mean, that's like a storyline we should be on the lookout just perpetually now. Is what is the biggest collection of remembering some guys in one play?
Well, Yaz hit a double over Ramos's head on Saturday, and I think Dubon scored.
And he drove in Dubon. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. So that, I mean,
similar,
that series.
but we need an old friend on the mound to get to 4. But
Yeah.
they're starting to spread around a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Tyler Mahle, by the way, was excellent in his debut.
Good for him.
6
I
innings.
love that.
Yeah, no runs, 9 strikeouts.
Okay. And then what about Robbie Ray? He had his debut in San Diego, right?
Not good.
Thumbs down. Okay. Sorry, Padres. We
5,
tried.
5 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned, 5 walks. It's similar box score to a lot of what we saw the last few weeks, except he had kept the walks from scoring.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco, they did score. Look, it's 1 star for each of them, but I think we did at one point talk about, I know I talked about it somewhere, how those two seemed like they were closer in value, or should have been closer in value than you would think just looking at ERA, given some of the advanced stuff and given the way Mahle was pitching at times in recent weeks. And the packages ended up being wildly different. So it'd be interesting to look back in a few weeks if Mahle ends up being better the rest of the way than Robbie Ray. Remember, both of them. Both of them.
That would be the most Padres thing to ever happen.
It would be to give up a 17-year-old shortstop and guy who throws 100. And the Braves were like, here's a 24-year-old who struggled in the big leagues. So I think the Braves are ready, and Giants are very excited about their side of that trade. They actually think it's like underrated, but I feel like the Braves already kind of won that because it's a guy who wasn't really in their mix, and they already got one really good start out of this guy.
Yeah, kind of beyond looking around the league, but speaking of Giants facing or former Giants facing former Giants, Joey Lucchesi and Sean Jelly were the 2 starting pitchers in an NPB game earlier this week. Lucchesi with the Marines and Sean Jelly with the Buffaloes.
Do you know who won?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's harder to find the results of these games than you'd think.
Yeah, we haven't tracked them too closely.
No, I can do some research, but I don't know how much you actually care who won.
That's a good one. We have a lot here just from the last couple weeks. This is an old one. Ryan Barucki, Cleveland Guardian.
Okay, what's he been up to?
Cleveland Guardian. So he had not been up to anything since
just full couch mode since then.
Yeah,
since the Giants.
We're done.
Great.
Jorge Soler DFA'd by the Angels after the deadline.
Still on our payroll?
He's still on that Giants contract, not on the payroll.
All right.
That is the original.
Oh, yeah. Sure. On the Angels version of that, on that same contract.
Original contract. Andrew McCutchen released from the Braves AAA team.
What a way to go out for McCutchen. That's rough. That makes you realize why some guys hang it up when they do.
It's such a fine line between like, you're gonna have to tear the jersey off me and then being like literally like, yeah, no, we're gonna release you from AAA. So
yes,
it's
when you're riding the bus in AAA on the face of getting cut, you just go out with a bang.
Yeah, and then here's a couple that are not Giants, but I needed somewhere to put these. So Tyler Bremner, who's a good UCSB Gaucho, he was the first pitcher taken a year ago. He was promoted.
Yeah, because they were like a double whammy,
Yeah.
right? Jackson Flora and Tyler Bremer.
He was promoted to Double-A, so that's just
okay.
Put it here. It's a little bit of an, and he has struggled this year, not horribly, but like he hasn't been like dominating the minor leagues. But he's in Double-A now, so just a little bit of an idea of like kind of the timeline ahead of Jackson Flora.
An angel.
He is. So
okay.
And I think this is actually kind of on the slower end because he has struggled a little bit. But you know, Jackson Flora next year, even if there's some ups and downs, this kind of tells you how quickly these guys at the top of the draft are moving. And then the Astros coming in, and they moved Tatsuya Imai to the bullpen. And I do think we just have to, pause to say the Giants were correct. And they had a bad offseason, but they were correct on this one. So
but he said he wanted to beat the Dodgers.
A lot of people were wrong on this one. So it's been a struggle for him. I actually went back and looked at my story in January, and I wrote, the Giants viewed Imai as more of a back-end starter with real risk that his repertoire will prove to be too limited to be a consistent big league starter. They thought there was like real reliever risk there. And so it ends up being a weird offseason because they obviously didn't do great in filling the rotation, but this would have been much worse. So
it's one of those things, it's easy to get caught up in the tidal wave of like, this is the guy, the internet says this is the guy. But even when they have bad years, these are professionals looking at these players and making these decisions.
I think the lesson here from the last couple of years, and like Yamamoto's been awesome, but Sasaki has not been very good. And Imai has not been very good. And I think the lesson is like to be careful about I think it's okay to be like, I would like the Giants to sign this guy. This guy seems like a great fit. But there's some people who are like actively angry that they were not like giving this guy $100 million. Are
they even trying?
Yeah. So
the guy.
And look, this is not to let them off the hook for their offseason, but it's a good lesson learned of like, let's be a little bit careful about the it's insane that they're not giving this guy $100 million tweets in the offseason.
Yeah. All right. That's our look around the league with some remembering of some guys. We've got mailbag questions from listeners, and we're going to preview the Giants-Astros series. But first, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. A good mattress can help improve your posture, reduce back pain, and even help with allergies. Studies show that getting a great night's sleep improves mood, memory, and productivity. A trip to Mancini Sleep World can set you up for your best rest yet. Stop by or visit sleepworld.com to see what's currently available. Okay, Alex, we have some mailbag questions from listeners. As always, if you're listening to this podcast and want to send us a mailbag question, go ahead and send it to Alex or myself, wherever you can find us on social media. We'll add it to our list and address it when we can on an upcoming podcast. Our first one is from Travis. Travis says, hey, was curious if the Giants ended up saving any money in all the trades. Travis out there really fiscally worried about these team owners.
Look, it's tough times right now. We're I think Andrew Baggerly of The Athletic went and looked through this. I believe the number he told me was $8.8 million the rest of this year.
Okay.
So, and obviously most of these guys half of this group was free agents at the end of this year. So I think that was the number 8. So yeah, it's not nothing. They did end up paying half of Robbie Ray's contract and half of the assignment clause with him. The trade little kicker he gets, those must be great. So they did do that, but I think it sounds like right around $9 million that was saved.
You get paid to move to San Diego.
Incredible.
Must be nice.
It is really it's one of those little things. Like I was looking through Tyler Malley's contract details, and he had like gets a suite on the road in his contract, and which is very normal, but sometimes we just forget. I'm like, that must be nice to be like the number 5 starter and it's written into your
I get a
contract.
suite though.
You get a suite on the road. So
Yeah.
this is similar. Yeah, you get traded to San Diego and you get, I don't know, $1 million, whatever it is. But yeah, that's
All right.
look, that's a decent reliever. 8.8 million.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. Spend it wisely, Giants.
Yeah.
Next question is from Ryan. Do you think there will be some hesitancy to promote Parks Harbor, Bo Davidson, Tugboat, etc. this year for fear of them being on the 40-man and not eligible for the minor league season in case of a prolonged lockout next season? This is one of those interesting wrinkles that I have to imagine people are thinking about because the lockout news seems to get more and more grim every time I read a headline.
Yes. Someone told me half the season the other day.
Well, that's much better than the 7 headlines I saw today that said all of the season.
Yeah, it's not great. Yeah, this is a great question because, yes, this is a real factor, not just for the Giants, but for everybody the rest of the way. And it's not just, there's a lot that goes into this, including the fact that I had forgotten this until someone told me this the other day, that the Rule 5 draft was canceled after the last lockout. They came back. So the whole protecting guys, there was never even a Rule 5 draft because it was such a scramble after the lockout, which is a real possibility next year as well. So, the whole concept of this guy's Rule 5 eligible, you have to protect him, so you might as well get him up here anyway, might not actually matter at all. The more important thing here is guys who are on the 40-man roster starting December 1st when this happens. It's going to happen. There can be no contact between the team and them. So they're separate. Being on the 40-man is much different than not being on the 40-man when a lockout happens in terms of contact, in terms of what you can do in the offseason. And most importantly, to the point of this question, if they miss half a season next year, the minor league CBA is different than the major league CBA. There could still be, you and I are going to be podcasting about Joshua and Luis Hernandez twice a week.
Let's do it. Yeah. You and I posted up in a suite. They better get us in Sacramento.
We got contract talks coming. Yeah. We'll do it. But it is a real, I know it sounds like people would say, what? It's a real thing. The possibility of a guy who's, especially these guys who just got promoted to AAA and would not have a lot of time up here the rest of the way, even if they came up, the possibility that they cannot play for 3 months next year. If you think about someone specifically like Parks Harbor, who's a third baseman by trade, and now is behind Chapman, Schmidt, and Meyer heading into next year. And I like Parks and I like the bat, and I think there's a spot for him at some point on next year's team possibly. And he can play some outfield. But you think about it from the Giants' perspective, and they're so this guy's buried anyway when you're doing the opening day roster, and then you're going to put him on the 40-man, and now he potentially can't play next a lot of next season. So it is important. I'll just say, wrap your head around that because it is important the next few weeks.
Gosh, now you've got me worried about the developmental impact for all the players that are on the 40-man, all the young players, because we saw the impact on so many of the young talent around the league, but especially in the Giants system during the COVID year and the lockdown for that. We've got a long off season ahead of us and multiple uses of the word long.
I mean, I think a little bit different than COVID, obviously. I mean, different for a lot of reasons, but there are avenues for these guys. And you get on the 40-man, you get paid better, you can train better in the off season, you can do things like that. But it is a good point because lost development time is crucial. And I think the great unanswered question with that class of prospects, that Luciano, Matos, Joey Bart, is what did COVID do to their development? And it's hard to know but those guys lost real key months and years of minor league reps.
Yeah. All right. Next question is from CA to DC. I assumed the path is Cactus League to low A to high A to double A to triple A to Major League Baseball. On the podcast, you said Flora might jump double A to majors. Why? Do hitters do the same? What is the minor league model when it optimally works? And what are the exceptions?
I don't think I said that, but I can answer the general question. Well, I'll just say in Flores' case, I think the model for him is I think they would love to get him to San Jose for just a few innings the rest of the year. And then I don't think he'll be there to start next year. He's most likely in Eugene to start next year, and a few starts in Eugene, and then up to Double A, and the likelihood next year for Jackson Flora is like high A, Double A, Triple A, finish out that year, and I'll honestly compete for a spot the next spring. I think that would be the likelihood. Now, there's a way to do it faster, and like Paul Skeens did it faster, Chase Burns did it faster. That's why I bring up Tyler Bremner, who is now at least in position to. We'll see. Again, this goes back to 40-man walkout, but he's in position now in Double A to be in the big leagues this year. But I do think for some guys skip Triple A, but in the Giants' case, it's not like Sacramento is pretty neutral, so
yeah,
it's not a real problem for him.
I don't know that he has 100%. This is his call, or I'm sure he trusts his guys, but I don't see Buster Posey as a skip levels with my top most important developmental assets kind of guy. We've talked a lot about the way Buster came up through the system with the guys he came up through the system, and them all doing that together meant so much for when they were all on the same team together. So
yeah,
there's a reason it's built the way it is.
Buster and Randy have been a little bit faster in promoting some guys than I expected when they took over. But aside from Wade Cox, that was back in the day. But I do think you're right. Yeah, they are gonna check every box here. And I know I've asked about Jackson like every 4 days since he got drafted, just because we'd like to go see him in San Jose. And they're being very careful there, as they should.
All right, next question is from Adam. One of the most frustrating things for me in this season, full of frustration, is Adama's incredible regression at shortstop. According to Baseball Savant, he went from 90th percentile in OAA in 2025 to first percentile this season. With all the talk about Ron Washington working miracles with a rise in Eldridge, why has Adames gotten so much worse?
Well, this was in the news cycle as well.
Exactly.
I think the great unanswerable question with Willy Adames, and you could say, hey, you're a beat writer, go and answer this, but this is one of those things guys will not talk about during the year, but is how much the back injury is bothering him.
Yeah.
And if you don't even have to be in my position of being there, you can just watch a game, and what you will see with Willy Adames is every single time he is shown not in the batter's box or standing at shortstop, he is wearing a wrap on his back to keep it warm. So I watched him do drills the other day wearing a wrap on his back. So I think it reminds me a little bit of Matt Chapman last year, where you're kind of like, I feel like the finger's really ruining your season, but you're not talking about it.
Yeah.
So that would be my best guess, honestly, on some of what we've seen. Now he's struggled at other stretches of his career defensively, but has also been very good at other stretches. Early last year was a struggle, and then he was really good the rest of the year. So maybe this is a streakiness thing, but my best guess, and also somewhat an educated guess just from being around him and seeing the work that's being done to him and the work he's doing, is that the back injury is much worse than he has let on publicly.
Yeah. It really is a shame. Obviously these guys are tough as nails. They're not going to admit to being dinged up, but with Casey Schmidt trying to find a place for so long this season, and he could have slotted in there fairly regularly to give Adames more load management or time off to heal, would have been great. But hey, that ship sailed for 2026.
I also think, have you ever had back issues?
I had some back issues after I donated bone marrow. That year was just it was rough.
I think the weird thing about a back for an athlete is that there's nothing like this isn't like Casey Schmidt, like, hey, your knee got hurt on one play, you're going to get an MRI, your season's over. Like, I think he still generally feels good enough to play.
Yeah.
But that's where it's hard to really figure out, like when you see him bend over sometimes and then drop a ball and it's an error, and it's like, is your back hurting or you just make a bad defensive play? Like it's tough. And it's also a question of when people say like, hey, take the time off, like, he still is able to get himself there to play every day. And we have also seen what's kind of behind him currently.
Yeah.
Like, he's still their best shortstop. So
Yeah.
It's a tough one, but I do think it's probably impacting the numbers quite a bit.
Yeah. Our next question is from AJ. AJ says, love seeing how well the guys down in the farm are doing with all the promotions. What can you tell us about Turner Hill? Haven't heard his name mentioned before, but he seems to be playing a lot of center field in Sacramento with really good numbers.
I can tell you that everyone I asked when I saw this question absolutely loves the guy, just in terms of like human being. Asked some of his teammates, asked some people behind the scenes with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also been really, really good in AAA. 347 average as we're recording here, 8 home runs, 23 steals. Now he's 27 years old. He was undrafted. I think from what I've heard, the scouting report on him is good contact skills, really good runner, just a really good all-around baseball player. But this is like an older guy. I think he was a Farhan find out of like independent ball. So
okay.
This isn't you look at the numbers, this isn't your traditional like, oh my God, look what Jonah Cox did in AA. Like this is a little bit different than that. I do hope we see him the rest of the way because I think these are awesome stories whenever it happens. And seems like he has, a lot of fans within the organization. And I actually think we will see him because like that's kind of the position they're in right now. And this is a great time to get him those big league opportunities.
Yeah. Play his way onto the big league team, has a great story. I'm all for it. He's obviously the narrative is very different, but I just pulled up his baseball reference page. I'm kind of getting like Mike Yastrzemski vibes.
Yeah. And I don't want to ever like limits, just say, well, guy's 27, get him a taste of the big leagues. Like you never know. Some of these guys, yes, showed up late. But I do think pretty good shot we see him at some point the rest of the way. And the highlight of the last couple of weeks has been like seeing some of these newcomers like kind of have their moments, have Basabe have his moments, and Leonard have his moments.
Let's end this mailbag question segment with a Mike Krukow memory. Now, I've been getting a lot of Krukow memories from people who listen to this podcast. Continue sending them, and maybe we'll end every mailbag segment with a Krukow story from here on out until the end of the season. But this one is not from a Giants Talk listener, unless it maybe is, but from Eric Miller on Twitter. Eric Miller said, Kruk came into the weight room my rookie year after I threw in the Bay Bridge spring training game the previous night. He said, you need to trust the stuff you have. It's good enough to get big leaguers out. That belief is still something I can recall to this day. Thank you, Kruk.
There you go. I like that idea. We're going to mix in one at the end of every mailbag because I've gotten a few emails from people who had, as we expected, have had moments with Mike Krukow.
Exactly. So, there's some really, really good ones we've got. So we'll start peppering those in. Send them the same way you send mailbag questions if you have a Krukow memory for us. And it's really cool knowing Mike is out there taking care of the young pitchers during spring training like that.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk Giants versus Astros, Alex. The Giants are taking on the mighty first place Houston Astros, who are one game over 500. What is going on in the American League West?
Negative 28 run differential, best team in the American League West. Also, Detroit, 2 games under, and they're 3.5 games out of first. So I don't know what's going on in the American League in general. Actually met a couple Giants Talk listeners over the weekend, and they asked me, their last question to me was like about the American League, and I'm like, I have no idea, man. I'm not trying to be rude. I have no idea what's going on over there. It seems like every team is bad, and they're all in the playoff race.
Yep. So, must be nice.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. But yeah, Astros, before we get into this, Alex, do we feel like the Astros have kind of lost their hatedness? I saw a question going around social media the other day that was like, what are baseball fans going to do if it's Astros Dodgers?
Yeah.
And it's why would I care at this point about the Astros?
Everyone's been fired. Everyone's gone. Yeah.
I have obviously it would have been nice if someone got punished, but I do not care. All they did was steal a trophy from the Dodgers anyways.
I can tell you who Cole is rooting for if that's the World Series.
I don't think it's hard to guess.
Yeah, pretty clear.
Yes. Larry, who are the pitchers in this series?
So far, Hayden Wisniewski versus Blade Tidwell, Hunter Brown versus TBD, TBD versus TBD. I think we're going to have just a lot of TBD the rest of the way. But
a lot of surprises.
Yeah, but Blake Tidwell might be number one currently on my list of Giants who I'm excited to see the next day when I go to the ballpark, because who knows?
Okay.
Who knows who he is?
Yeah. Certainly could be a starter next year. Could be a big arm in their bullpen next year. I think there's a version of him that is crucial in one way or another.
Agreed.
All right. What about our old friends? Because there's one very exciting one. The kind of exciting one that I'm really interested to know what Oracle Park does when he launches a home run this series.
Late night Lamont, like if there's a sighting, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So.
Would not be the worst thing in the world. It would bring a big smile to my face to see that again.
Giants are 20 games under. If there's a big seventh inning hit, I don't think anyone will be too upset about it. Yeah, he's been fine. He's 719 OPS in Houston. Seems to have found a home there after bouncing around a little bit.
Yep, put together a little 3-hit game the other day. So I'm excited to see Lamont Wade Jr. And then a few others. Stephen Okert is an Astro. Kaiwei Tang is in the minors. And then our old friend, Carlos Correa.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys on this team that we've talked about a lot. And kind of not really missing. So not missing out here.
All right. It's going to be an interesting series. Giants have played really, really well against first place teams this year, but not so well against teams hovering around 500. So the Astros kind of making up both categories could prove to be their kryptonite. We'll find out after this series. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to Giants Talk wherever you get your podcasts.
I got one more thing for you. In lieu of our usual send-off here, Michael Wagaman, who was a coworker of mine, he was my backup, honestly, for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Like, he filled in quite a bit when I took days off. He passed away on Friday. I think a lot of people probably saw that news. He was a tremendous human being. A reminder to me to, we can get cynical. You and I can get a little, we've been a little salty at times this year. Yep. I don't think he ever had a bad day at the ballpark. So he was always in a great mood. He was phenomenally talented. He worked for the Associated Press for a long time. He could cover anything. We would send him to everything. He'd do Warriors for us, Niners. I think he was probably like the only person who could go from Oracle to cover and then go cover a Sharks game the next night. I have no idea how to write hockey. But he was a great guy, and he passed away, and just wanted to shout him out because he was just a great human being and did a great job. And I know his family's out there, and I hope I get to meet him soon and tell him how much he meant to us. But I know he meant a lot to a lot of people that worked with us. And great guy. Sad to see him go. But
I'm going to tear up on 2 straight episodes, man.
I know, man. It was a tough back-to-back having and Mike Kruko was honored on Friday, and that was, you were there on Friday, right?
I was there. I was sitting with his wife and son.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot, seeing him get honored, and I think that was a sign of what's to come. But to hear the news on Saturday about Wags was difficult, but just sending all the love to his family and everyone that knew him.
Yeah. All right. With that, Giants Talk will be back after this year.